Hi and welcome to a very exciting continuation of our RSS Feed Reader tutorial. I have asked you for suggestions on how we can improve this RSS reader that we have created in the last tutorial. We have very basic functionality here at the moment, so you can add a new feed, you can save it using core data and access the feed later, and click on a news item, and then you get the blog article or whatever is behind this feed item. Now, you have made some great suggestions, and in this first part of our continuation, we're going to talk about how to integrate the images that are associated with the items, with the blog items that we can see here in this table view. So what's going to look like is something like this. So in this case, there are no images available, but once we choose another, let's say a baking blog, because it's Christmas time and you maybe want to do some last minute baking, then you can see how this works. We're going to use AF networking to download these images quite efficiently, and we're going to use regular expressions to get the first image from a blog post and search for the image tag within the HTML in order to get the URL for the associated image. So let's get started by downloading the tutorial files from the last tutorial, iOS Swift Core Data Tutorial, RSS Feed Reader, and you can get the tutorial files here and download them. And we need to make some more preparations. Like I said, we're going to use AF networking, so make a Google search and for AF networking, and you will hit GitHub. And then simply download this zip folder here, and this is going to look like this. And we are going to use the AF networking and a UIKit plus AF networking folder. So I'm going to open the Xcode project that we have created in the last tutorial. And first of all, I'm going to insert these two folders of AF networking, UIKit and AF networking, and simply drag and drop it into our helper folder, and select copy items if needed and hit finish. And since we're going to work with a UI image view component of this AF networking, we're going to look for it. It's called UI image view plus AF networking. And I'm hitting the .m file and copy this import statement. Make this a little smaller again. And insert it. I can also close this helper folder here, and I'm going to insert this import statement into our bridging header in order for us to use the AF networking library. So that's the first step. And as you've seen, we're going to put the thumbnail image here on the left-hand side of our table view cell. So we are going to create a custom table view cell and also include two labels, one for the author name, which is Aaron in that case. And if we have a look at the New York Times tag, you can see by Matthew Goldstein and so on. And here the blog item title, which is here chocolate, hazelnut, cupcakes, and so on. So let's go into our storyboard, and we have used 100 pixel of height for our cell. So let's also give this 100 pixels in height, and we're going to insert a UI image view using our object library here and drag and drop an image view to our table view cell. We're going to make this 100 by 100 pixels and set it to X position 0 and Y position 0. And we're going to use auto layout to fix this at its position. So we press Control on our keyboard, make a drag, which is slightly this orientation, press Shift on the keyboard and select width and height, because this should always be 100 by 100 pixels, and then we can control drag to the content view, leading space to content margin, and control drag again, top space to content margin. And as you can see, the constraints turn blue, which means we have we have given the storyboard or auto layout enough information for it to position the UI image view always at the correct position. And we will now add one label for the author. Let's put it somewhere here, make it that big. Let's give it a bold system font, and that's it. And also let's add another label, little distance here. Let's make it, let's say, this big, and same width. And let's give it 2 lines of text. And now let's also add the auto layout constraints. So let's begin with the horizontal spacing between the image and the label. And let's also give this one top space to container margin. Let's give this one trailing space to container margin. And now let's add the vertical spacing between those 2 labels, and also here the trailing space. And we also need to fix the height of this one. And let's see, clicking on this yellow icon here, we can see expected Y position is 0, and it seems not to be 0, so let's give that Y position of 0, and that's it. Now we have auto layout in place, all the constraints are set. So let's create a class for this new table view cell. So let's select feed table view controller.swift, press Command N on the keyboard, select source files for iOS, Cocoa Touch class, and select Swift as our language. And what we want to do is we want to create a feed table view cell. So let's just write feed as a class name, and this is going to be a subclass of UI table view cell. So it auto completes the class name. We click next and create. So now we have our cell set up and ready, and we return to our storyboard, and we will now select the feed table view controller scene, the table view, and select the cell. And now within the identity inspector, we are going to give this a custom class, and this is the feed table view cell that we just created. And what we want to do now is creating some outlets within our code to access those new user interface elements. So we are going to bring up the assistant editor here, select here in the assistant editor is selected automatic, and we can see that there are 2 options, the feed table view controller.swift file and the feed table view cell.swift file. And since we want to add these outlets to our cell itself, we're going to select the cell, and can see now the class that we just created. And now let's first of all create an outlet for the image view, which is the item image view. Then let's create an outlet for the author, item author label. Let's just do that again. Connect. And now this is going to be the item title label. Okay, connect. And that's it. Now our class is set up. Now what we also want to do is inserting a placeholder image. And we've also, you will find this placeholder image in the tutorial files of this tutorial. It's called assets. And we are going to select these 3 images. First of all, open the image assets folder. We can also go back to standard editor actually, and here is actually nothing at the moment, so we are going to open the assets folder and simply drag and drop these files into our image assets folder, and they are in 1x, 2x, and 3x version, so it will run on every iOS device. So now we can select our image view, go to the attributes inspector, and select the placeholder image as our current image. Let's also select clip subviews so that if an image is bigger than this image view, then this image is going to be cropped. And also let's select aspect fill as content mode. All right, now we have completed our user interface work, and we will now go back into our feed table view controller.swift file and search for our cell for row at index path method, because this is where all the action is going to take place. And it's actually quite simple. As I told you, we are going to use regular expressions to search for an image. So let's first of all set up the cell a little further, and we will say cell.item image view. But first of all, we may need to build the project. So again, cell and .item, and we don't get our properties that we have defined within this feed table view cell class, because we have to cast this cell first. So we have to cast that not to a UI table view cell, but to a feed table view cell. And now we can use the properties like item image view. And what we want to do here, every time the cell is reused, we want to set the placeholder image. So what we do is simply say accessing the image property of the image view and give it a UI image, which is named placeholder. All right. So every time the cell is reused, the placeholder is going to be set into the image view. And this is actually the first step. Now let's also remove this comment here and also remove this piece here. All we need now is actually the item itself, which contains all the information that we need, which is first of all the author. So let's access the cell item author label dot text and give this the item's author. The item's author property, and let's now continue and add the item title label, which is going to be item.title. All right. Now, what we need to do is check the complete HTML in order to get the image from the HTML source code. And therefore, we need to check if we already have content. So the HTML of our blog post is saved within this property, which is called content. And what we need to do is check if this content is available. So if item.content is not equal to nil. But this can actually never be nil, since there are no optionals defined here. So what we do is we do not cast this item here to a MW feed item. We'll make this an optional. And then we will need to add question marks here as well. And also here. And then we are safe to get going. So we will first of all create a constant for the HTML content, and this is going to be the item.content. And to use this this a little better than with the Swift data types, we're going to use an NS string, because we have more options within the NS string. And here we're going to unwrap this, since we now know that the item.content is not equal to nil, so we can explicitly unwrap this. And now let's also create a variable for the image source, which is at the moment empty. So now let's find a match for the image itself. And how are we going to do this? First of all, we are going to create a range. So this is the range of a string, and let's make an NSMake range with a start location and a length, and the length is the length of our HTML content. And since the Swift string data type does not have this this property, we have just used NSString, and this gives us the ability to access the length of the string, and this makes it quite easy to use NSMake range to get the range of our HTML code. So we need this now to find the proper the proper position on which our image tag from our HTML code starts, and therefore we are going to use a regular expression. Therefore, using the NSRegularExpression class, and we're going to give it a pattern, nil option, and nil as an error because we will not need it. So let me insert the regular expression that I've already prepared for searching for the image tag within with the attribute source, and we are looking explicitly for this pattern within our HTML code, and we're looking for the first occurrence of an image tag. So let's now check if our HTML content is actually available. So HTML content has a length greater than 0. And if this is the case, we're going to look for a match with our regular expression and its first match in string. And our string is the HTML content. We don't need options, but we need the range that we have already defined, which is the range of string. And if the match is not equal to nil, so if there was something found, what we're going to do is we are going to get the image URL, which is the HTML content. This is the string that contains the URL, and we're now using the substring from substring with range method to define a range within our HTML content string that gives us the image URL. And this first match in string actually gives us an NS text checking result object. And there are many things contained within this object. So let's access it. The match dot range at index, and we're going to use the index 2 since this gives us the complete URL to the image itself, and cast that to an NS string so that we can use it later. And we can also make a print line here and display the image URL in the console. So let's build that and see if there is an error. And there it is, because we have to explicitly unwrap this here, and we can do that since it is not nil. This is absolutely safe to do. And what we want to do now is we want to check if our string contains something from FeedBurner, since FeedBurner sometimes inserts its own images instead, or the first image is going to be the FeedBurner logo. So if that is the case, we want to remove it, and more like it's better for us to just display our placeholder image instead of the FeedBurner logo. So what we do to resolve that problem is we're going to create an NS string from a string, and this is going to be the image URL in lowercase string. And now we can use the method range of string, and this is only possible because we used an NS string here, and now we are looking for FeedBurner. And now this is great because we now can access the location, and this makes it possible to just search for NS not found. So if it is not this, if this string is not found, then we want to set the image source to the image URL that we have found within our HTML code. So next step is going to be to download the image, but we only want to do that if we have an image source. So let's just do that beneath this if statement, and again ask if image source is not equal to an empty string. So if there is a URL, what we now do is access the cell, its item image view, and now we're going to use a method provided by AF Networking, and this is the reason why we have integrated the AF Networking library into our project. We can use set image with URL and a placeholder image, and the URL is simply NSURL and the image from a string and the image source, and the placeholder image is simply going to be UI image named placeholder. All right, and if we don't have an image source, what we want to do is simply set the item image view, set its image, and set it to the placeholder image. All right, that should actually do it. And if we now run this in a simulator, we can't because the other app is still running in the simulator. So let's close it and rerun this. And there we go. There is our New York Times technology with no images. And let me just open up this baking block, which I've copied now. Let's add the feed baking block. Let's enter the feed URL, which is this one, save it, open it up, and there we go. And it's downloading the images asynchronously thanks to AF Networking, which we have just integrated. And another example of a block that does not use images like Daring Fireball. If we do that, let's also add this one. Come on, add a feed, Daring Fireball, and add this feed address. And if we have a look at that, you can see that we have our nice looking placeholder images here. And as soon as we switch back to the baking block, we again get the images of these delicious recipes. All right, now we have seen how to integrate images into our RSS reader, feed reader, and you've also seen how to use regular expressions for that purpose. And I hope you're having fun with this tutorial, and the same invitation is valid for this video. If you have any ideas how to improve this app even further, let me know it, and we'll see in the following days what we are going to make out of this simple RSS reader application.